Hello and welcome to another session of Weir Wednesdays, when we take a deeper look into one of the objects in the Weir collection at RiverBrink. My name is Deborah Antonczyk and I'm the Director Curator. So today we're going to be looking at this work by Armand Guillaumin, Le Passage à Weir from 1898. This is one of 5 works in the collection by the artist, all purchased by Sam Weir in the late 1950s and early 60s. Some associate the Weir collection with Canadian art, with Canadian artists, but there are a number of works by European artists, and these 5 works by Guillaumin are among them. Here we're looking at a self-portrait of the artist from 1878 in the collection of the Musée d'Orsay. Jean-Baptiste Armand Guillaumin was born in Paris on the 16th of February, 1841. Soon after his birth, his family moved to Moulins, where Armand received his first schooling. He was later sent back to Paris to study business and also attended drawing classes. In 1861, he began to study at the Académie Suisse, a popular tuition-free art school in Paris. It was while at the Académie Suisse that he met Paul Cézanne and Camille Pissarro, who became lifelong friends and later became part of a circle of artists interested in Impressionism. In 1863, Guillaumin contributed a work to the Salon des Refusés. This was an important event in the history of modern art, and in France and in elsewhere. There had been so many artists rejected by the jury of the annual Paris Salon that year that an alternative exhibition was arranged, the Salon of the Refusés, or rejected artists. Perhaps the best known of these rejected works is this painting by Edward Manet, Déjeuner sur l'herbe, from 1863. The paintings were generally subject to ridicule and humiliating invective by the public and in the press, but many of the works exhibited are considered masterpieces of modern art today. Guillaumin also participated in the first Impressionist exhibition in 1874, showing 3 landscapes, among them this sunset in Ivry, and the paintings he showed at subsequent Impressionist exhibitions between 1877 and 1886 reveal his close links to the Impressionists and their interest in laying down paint straight from the tube, capturing the impression of land and sea and sky. And here in this particular case, the smoke pouring out of smokestacks. Although Guillaumin was considered more of a secondary artist within the Impressionist movement, his paintings are composed in strong, vivid colors, and his images of factory buildings and subway stations and similar locations are imbued with a convincing atmosphere, although as if we were actually right in front of this scene. In 1886, Guillaumin became friends with Vincent van Gogh through his brother Theo, an art dealer who represented Guillaumin and sold some of his paintings. Perhaps through this connection, Le Passage au Weir, purchased by Sam Weir in New York in 1959, was previously owned by Dr. Paul Ferdinand Gachet. Dr. Gachet, who treated Van Gogh during his final weeks, was a great supporter of artists, especially the Impressionists, and an amateur painter himself with an extensive art collection. Dr. Gachet supported artists in other ways as well. For instance, this etching by Paul Cézanne, Guillaumin au Pendu, also in the Weir collection, was a product of Cézanne's experimentation with printmaking in the 1870s, under the encouragement of Dr. Gachet, who made his printmaking studio in Auvers-sur-Oise available to Cézanne and others. The print provides tangible evidence of the friendship between Guillaumin and Cézanne, a notoriously difficult personality. Here we see Guillaumin seated casually on the ground, his arms are crossed and resting on one knee. A small caricature of a hanged man in the upper left gives us the title, Guillaumin with Hanging Man. The figure is Cézanne's unique pictorial signature, developed for his graphic work, and suggesting the artist's internal struggles with his work. Dr. Gachet encouraged artists using his studio to develop a unique signature in order to encourage a sense of artistic unity. Despite his facility with etching, after a brief period of printmaking, Cézanne moved on to focus exclusively on painting. Another work in our collection, Environs de Crozon, Creuse, from 1905. Guillaumin discovered the town of La Creuse in central France in 1887 and decided to settle there, becoming known as the leader of the École de Crozon for the many depictions he made of the area and his influence on local artists. And here we see his wonderful treatment of this particular purples and greens, almost evoking this idea that it is a work of pastel and not of paint. And this work, Soir bord de la Creuse from 1919, some 15 years later, again exploring this particular area of France that he came to know so well. His painting lost some of its intensity during his years in La Creuse, with the greens and the purples becoming more dominant in his palette. In 1891, Guillaumin won a lottery and was finally able to quit his government job and concentrate on painting full time. He made numerous visits to Saint-Palais-sur-Mer, Agay, Brittany, and the Auvergne. In 1904, he traveled to the Netherlands, which inspired a number of paintings. Guillaumin died in Paris in June of 1927. The other works in our collection, Paysage sur la Neige, no date, and a lithograph, Les Roches Rouges à Agay. So the Weir collection has 4 oil paintings and 1 lithograph by Guillaumin, a significant concentration in a small collection. Sam Weir seems to have liked Impressionism and also noted that Passage au Auberge was an earlier work by Guillaumin, whom he described as a favorite painter of mine, end quote. The fact that it was an earlier work and therefore showed the artist's development, another aspect of the piece that interested Weir. He was also most interested in work that was similar to Claude Monet. Perhaps the Impressionists were beyond his reach financially, and therefore he focused on secondary Impressionist Armand Guillaumin. So Weir indulged in buying Guillaumin's, acquiring these works in the late 50s and early 60s, before he began to focus more specifically on Canadian art. There was a brief flurry of acquisitions of work by the Pont-Aven School, Maxime Moffra, Henri Mouret, and Gustave Loiseau in the mid-1960s. But then Weir focused an increasing interest in building the Canadian collection, for which RiverBrink is known today. Thank you, and please join us again next month for Weir Wednesdays.